Timothée Chalamet plays Dylan, and he is so extraordinary. I can't even speak about how extraordinary he is.
I love him.
How is he? I know we've discussed this a lot.
He's so talented.
He seems like, I think he's had Severance chip, because when he's working, he seems like the most deep, emotionally intelligent, intellectual dude, and then he just loves a purse. Hello and welcome to Mamamia Out Loud and to our Friday show. If you're having a little hyperventilate every time you see a headline pop up on your phone, we've got you. Today is a news-free zone. It's Friday, the 7th of February, and I'm Holly Wainwright.
I'm Mia Freedman.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And on the show today, a new Australian TV show, a newly classic American comedy, and a big Oscar movie for you to binge on the weekend. It's our recommendations. And our best and worst of the week include Mia's boobs. I'm not telling you whether they're best or worst. You'll have to wait and see which category they fall into. A Scone-related dethroning and a shock cancellation. But first, Mia.
It's time for our recommendations, the things that we are recommending, as the name suggests.
Wow.
Now, we all have
that should be the tagline for this segment.
For you to watch. I'm going to trademark it and put it on a T-shirt. We all have things for you to watch.
Can I go first, please?
You might have to choose.
Go first.
Jessie's going to go first.
You know those weeks when you can't wait for Friday because you're so desperate to recommend what you need to recommend because you know that you fucking nailed your recommendation?
Yeah.
That's me this week. I'm late to the party, but season 2 of this season has just dropped, so it's been sort of reinvigorated. Severance. Oh my God, I am on the Severance train. It is a show on Apple TV, and it's about work,
right?
It's about work. It is stunning. It is brilliant. It is genius. It is life-changing.
Is it like, so just tell us from the beginning.
Okay.
Because everyone's telling me this. I need
three times to watch it.
Okay. I have a hack for you in terms of that, but I'm going to start by saying it's got Adam Scott, it's got Patricia Arquette, it's got Christopher Walken, it's directed by Ben Stiller.
Oh my God, that is a pedigree.
Need I say more? Okay. Mia, I saw the ad. I read the description. I watched half an episode 2 years ago. I went, it's not for me.
Yeah. Felt dystopian, felt like Black Mirror, not my favourite.
Is it like The Office?
God, no.
Not like The Office.
It's like Black Mirror.
So it's not funny.
It is actually, it's
Darkly.
dark. It's got kind of dark humour. It's a psychological thriller.
It's not a sitcom.
It's dystopian. But I got halfway through the episode and I looked at Luca and I went, I don't know, it's just not doing it for me. And he was like, no, I'm in. By the end of that first, you got to trust me.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You just got to watch the first episode. Now, this is the premise. So Mark Scout, who's played by Adam Scott, is an employee at a company called Lumen, right? And Lumen does this thing where they insert a chip in your brain and you become a severed employee. What that means is that when you walk into your work building, you become your work self, otherwise known as an innie, and you have no memories of your outie. So you go and have a work day. We're having our work day right now. I don't even know I have a kid. I don't know I'm married.
It's the opposite of bringing your whole self to work.
It's the opposite. And then you walk out and then I go home to Luna. I could have state secrets. I've got absolutely no idea. So what a great idea. The big question is, why would someone choose that? What has happened in someone's life to go, why would they consent to that in the first place? Because they've signed up for it, right? And there are all these, oh my God, it's just so good. It's like the best episode of Black Mirror you've ever seen. Back in 2022, when the first season came out, it was nominated for 14 Emmys. Right? And then we have waited years because of writers' strikes, because of all of this for the next season. I started on Friday and I am now up to date and it's just,
okay.
Watch it.
Hole.
I've got a movie. I went to the movies. I had a date night at the movies the other week and I watched A Complete Unknown, which is the movie that Timothée Chalamet plays Bob Dylan in, and I bloody loved it. Usual complaint of all movies now, too long, but I didn't even mind.
No, Holly, I looked it up because I went, I'm going to see that on Saturday night. 2 hours and 20 minutes. I said, I can't.
It's not as long as The Brutalist, which is 4 hours, I think.
No, my mum went to see that. She said she'd only go if she was allowed to have a drink in the interval. My dad was like, sure. Anyway, I digress. 2 hours 20 is long. But it is so good. It is so good because the music is brilliant, because you're transported in time to a very different time.
Do you have to like Bob Dylan because I don't like his music at all?
Oh, wow. Never heard someone say that.
Really? I've heard lots of people say that. Maybe it's just I say it a lot.
I think it helps. Like, you don't have to like all Bob Dylan, but those iconic 60s songs.
Sing one.
Like a Rolling Stone. Oh, my God. I couldn't love it more. Anyway, it's the story of him. But the thing is, so it's a biopic, right? And it's directed by the guy who directed like Walk the Line and all those like Johnny Cash biopics. And he's the guy who makes all the biopics. I think he's married to Helen Mirren. Anyway, again, we digress. It isn't one of those biopics where it's like, and he was born in this town and he did this. It's very much one of those biopics that just takes one moment in time. And Timothée Chalamet plays Dylan, and he is so extraordinary. I can't even speak about how extraordinary he is.
I love him.
How is he? I know we've discussed
He's
this
so
a lot.
talented.
He seems like, I think he's had Severance chip, because when he's working, he seems like the most deep, emotionally intelligent, intellectual dude. And then he just loves a purse, which is fine, right? Off the carpet, he just likes pretty girls and nightclubs.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
Did you just call Kylie Jenner a purse?
No, I didn't. He's been carrying around a little Chanel purse lately.
Has he?
Yeah, he dresses very interestingly.
You don't hear the word purse very often.
Yeah, a little Chanel
outside
purse.
retirement homes.
And he loves that. Anyway, the women in it, Elle Fanning, she plays like the girlfriend from the early years who he very quickly cheats on. Monica Barbero, she's nominated for an Oscar as Joan Baez. She's extraordinarily good. I loved it. Ed Norton, it's an Oscar movie. Go see it.
I think mine's more interesting than either of yours. It is called, it's a mini-series based on a true story. It's called Apple Cider Vinegar, and it is the Belle Gibson story.
Yes.
It's out. It came out this week. It's all dropped. It was written by Samantha Strauss. She was the screenwriter
as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it, I have a question, hand up question.
Yeah.
Is it the Belle Gibson story, or is it inspired by, like, Strife was inspired by you?
It's the Belle Gibson story.
Oh, right. Wow.
It is the Belle Gibson story starring an actor whose name I've forgotten, who looks incredibly and sounds incredibly like Belle Gibson. She's American.
I know her from a very famous American show I watched.
Was this week. The premiere?
Yeah, no, the premiere, that's correct.
The premiere
Well
was
done.
this week, and Liv from Mamamia in our social team presented her with a certificate for the best Australian accent on the red carpet, because you would never know. It is flawless. Anyway, it tells the story of Belle Gibson, of course, who pretended she had brain cancer and launched an app and got a cookbook deal, but it tells the story of two other women parallel to that whose paths intersected with Belle. One is, in the show she's called Miller, but in real life she was a lifestyle blogger and former magazine writer called Jess Ainscough, who I knew a little bit. She got cancer in her arm, and she chose to, back in the sort of early 2000s, she chose to not have traditional medicine and to cure herself with something called the Gerson diet, which was about having juices and having coffee enemas, and it's a wellness protocol. Even though the doctors said, if we amputate your arm, there's like a 90% chance that you'll be fine. She went, no, I don't want to have chemo. I don't want to lose my arm. I'm going to try this other way. And she discovered basically these charlatans on the internet. And so it tells the story of how her path intersected with Belle's, how Belle became very inspired / jealous of her and co-opted her story as her own. And then there's the story of a third woman called Lucy, who I think is fictionalized, but she discovers that she has cancer, has traditional treatment, becomes quite disillusioned, and then becomes a disciple of Belle Gibson. And it looks at the paths of these three women, and it is so well done.
I was dying to see
Who
that.
wrote it?
It's based off the original investigative reporting that Nick Toscani and
of course, yeah.
Did for The Age. Many years ago, they won a lot of awards for that. And it's actually produced, I didn't realise, by my cousin Emil Sherman at Seesaw. They've done The King's Speech. They've done
so many things. Lion.
Slow Horses, The King's Speech, Lion. Seesaw does amazing work, like really dramatic work.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see it.
Right.
It's brilliant. They've even recreated that famous 60 Minutes interview where she's wearing
the turtleneck.
Yeah, where she's wearing the pink turtleneck.
Do you think we'll do do you think if we all watch it, can we do an episode on it? Do you think the Out Louders will like that?
Oh, yeah, no. I was going to say, I want to do a recap of every episode. We will do a recap episode, the three of us. And also, if you want to know more about the Belle Gibson story, we've done a whole podcast about this, and it is fascinating, her story. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
I'm going to go first in best and worst this week. A reminder to the group that best and worst can be silly. It can be serious. It can be whatever you want it to be. Very serious worst this week. I want to prepare everybody.
Okay.
Brent is no longer the king of scones in my neighbourhood.
Because Brent, your boyfriend.
Yeah, my boyfriend.
He won the Scone Award for the best scones in the country.
Order has been restored.
Yes.
So, very quick backstory. I live in regional New South Wales. Country shows are a big deal. The Berry Show was on at the weekend. Everybody enters things. So, they have a puppy with the waggiest tail competition. They have competition for the biggest pumpkins.
So it was like the Grammys and he walked in as Taylor Swift.
It's like the Grammys, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And he had
this New Zealand interloper
last
from the
year,
big city.
Yeah.
Brent had baked his famous lemonade scones, which are only famous in the four walls of our house, and entered them into the baking contest, which is hotly contested, right, at these things. There are people there, there's CWA, there's people there who've been
they're not
baking
there to fuck
for
spiders.
years. They are not.
It's album of the year.
They're there to make scones.
100% album of the year. And he just swooped in like Chapel Roan in a pointy hat.
Yeah.
And he won last year. And the man was insufferable. Actually, we've got the recipe for his scones somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll put it somewhere.
So would you say he was a favourite going into this year?
He was. And
it was his to lose.
You'd go into town and all anyone would talk to you about was is Brent entering his scones? And then the rumours started. They said so-and-so has bought a Thermomix and she's going to...
Are you allowed to use a Thermomix?
Oh, yeah, you're allowed to use whatever you want. And she's been practising and blah, blah. And so-and-so has been practising every day because everybody wants to beat Brent. And indeed, another friend of mine, Ali Lidbetter, won and took Brent out. He was very upset.
A runners-up prize or maybe a participation award?
Get a commendation, Mia.
Oh, wow.
It was like he fell
from
happened, great heights.
I think he choked.
He claims that he had to do it very early in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And he claims that his self-raising flour was old and not new. I'm like, well, that's a rookie error. Anyway, my friend Ali Lidbetter won. People on the internet have called her Ali Did Better and made little labels for her. Ali, I know you're listening. She is an Out Louder. Congratulations, Brent will never come to your house again.
Well, I'm not sad because I never got to try one.
I'll bring you one now that they're not special.
Yeah.
Anyway, my best, which is much nicer, is that my firstborn turned 15 this week, my daughter. But teenage girls get a bad rap often from us because it can be tricky. It's a transition of parenting. There is no question from this little person, and she was my baby, and this little person who just looks at you like, Mummy, and she's so delighted and she wants to be with you all the time, to this person who basically couldn't care less.
Is she in year 9 this year?
She's in year 10 this year.
Oh, okay.
And she mostly has requests for me, like, can I have and will you take me and am I allowed to?
Yeah.
And very little else. And she gets in the car and I often say, you have to talk to me for 10 minutes before you put earbuds in. And she's like, oh. But the reason it's my best is because the other side of that is the joy in seeing them become more independent. Like, there's sadness for you. And a lot of my friends message, my mother's group, obviously all our kids turning 15, they're all messaging each other going, I'm really struggling with this pulling away. But there's also so much joy in seeing them become independent beings. And I love it a bit. And I look at her and I just think, obviously in my eyes, I'm like, you're just the most gorgeous thing that ever existed.
Well, she looks like you, Holly. So of course she is.
Well, yeah. She's taller than me.
What was your worst?
My worst of the week was actually my boobs. They were just so...
She's got good boobs, babes.
No, they're too big and I don't like them at the moment. I'm fighting with my boobs. So I've been trying to add testosterone. I actually think this might be the problem, although testosterone, adding it to my HRT.
This is not medical advice. Do not take medical advice from us.
Has a doctor said you should do that?
You can't, guys,
You're going to grow
it's
a
not
penis.
like you can just go and get it, like from the shops.
It sounds like you're having a play.
I was prescribed it by a medical professional based on my hormonal levels, which were measured because I'm postmenopausal now. And so every time I've tried to use it, it's not agreed with me. And the first time I realised I used twice as much as I was meant to.
Did you grow a beard?
Did you get really feisty?
I wanted to vomit and I felt really wrong, felt terrible. And then I went, I actually was meant to be one pump, but I put one pump under each arm instead of just one pump between the two arms. Anyway, now I'm having like a quarter of a pump, but I don't think it's agreeing with me. It gave me a period. I know I started spotting my boobs were like sore, so in the way that they feel like when you're about to get your period or when you're pregnant. And I was like, imagine if I was pregnant, but I'm not pregnant. Sorry. Holly's laughing.
No, well, it's so you to pull focus. I have a baby and you're like, I want a baby. And I'm like, Mia, you're 50-something.
Guess what?
It's not,
Luna's going to be an auntie.
It's not the age of the miracles.
Anyway, but my boobs just became so big and I just became I started thinking about getting a breast reduction this week. They've settled down a bit now.
Maybe just back off the testosterone gel.
Yeah, I have. I've stopped that again. Anyway, so that was my worst.
I think I just want to give you a compliment, though, because I think you dress your boobs very well, because you've been telling me for a while now how much you don't like your big boobs, but I don't notice. I think that you dress them well.
Yeah. This is not a diss on anyone's big boobs. I have no objection. They just feel because I didn't grow up with big boobs, I'm just not used to it. I feel like someone's like I've had a boob job.
Like you're in someone else's body.
Thank you. Anyway, my best is... Jessie mentioned we launched Biz this week. I think it's like our 60th podcast or something. I've kind of lost count. So we've got 3 people on this show. So first, who used to work at Google and who has this great brand called Career Baby. She gives career advice. She's amazing. And then Michelle Battersby, who's been an executive in a lot of different businesses, including she was the head of Australasia for Bumble in marketing, and now she's an entrepreneur. She lives in LA and she's got a number of businesses, including one called Sunroom, which works with creators. Anyway, I really wanted to do something different with this pod, so they're amazing. But then we needed Em Vernon.
Yeah. Who doesn't need Em
Vernon? Because what she brings to the show is a lot of humour and also the perspective of what you were talking about, Jessie, which is the I'm ambitious, but I'm also just
a very
lazy.
Fresh take on career.
Yeah. And so it sounds different. It sounds like a different show. It's a lot of fun. I really love that process of just working creatively with the team on that show, including our group EP, Georgie, we're just letting it into the world, and it's being received really well, and I'm stoked. So that's my best of the week. New talent.
Worst has been a while coming. Along with this podcast for the last 3 and a bit years, I've been co-hosting another podcast called Cancelled, it's my favourite thing, going in and recording that. It's my twin sister Claire and I sit there and just laugh for 45 minutes. We have had some of the best times in that studio. And over the last few months, Claire has been making some career decisions. She's been finishing off a book. And when you write a book, it's a very solitary task. And by the end, you kind of go, oh, wow, look what I can do on my own. And I think that she sort of looked up and went, I have some projects that I feel, especially when you're a twin, so much of what you do and who you are is about that relationship, and it's a bit of codependence. And so Claire came to this conclusion over summer, I think I want to do a few things on my own, and that would mean stopping doing Cancelled. And it broke my heart. I wasn't ready for it to finish. I felt like I was dumped. And that I was by my sister, and also I was going, but almost, when you sort of beg them to take you back. And look, it was a classic. It's not you, it's me situation. It was what Claire is planning, and I think that once you've had a baby, your priorities shift and all that kind of stuff. And it's been really, really hard to kind of see that gap and the community that we've built and the listeners. We have so much fun, and to have to sit down and we recorded the last episode, which was so fun, but to have to tell them I was like, oh, I have so much fun chatting to you every week.
A lot of Outlouders who are also cancelled listeners, as Holly and I are, have been asking, when's cancelled coming back?
Yeah, it's really sad. And I think that, I reckon that Claire will go and do projects and we go off and do our own things, and then we'll be back doing something in some capacity at some point. But for now, it's resting. We have a back catalogue of 1 million episodes that are so much fun. But I'm very, very sad to see that.
That's the end of an era.
It's the end of an era. Look, my best.
Hol, what podcast are you going to quit this week?
I'm not quitting mid. In fact, we just brought it back.
Exactly.
I suddenly thought, hey, I better get a mid. I better jump on this quick and get a mid plug in. This week, it's me talking to Amanda Keller and her best friend Anita about friendship.
I love Amanda Keller.
And I cry in the intro because I wrote an intro about my best friend and about ex-friends and friendships and cheerleading friends and feedback friends, and it made me cry. Me and producer Grace, we were like crying in there, and I was like, this isn't how this is supposed to go. Anyway, go listen to one of those friendships that you're like, I see why the chemistry of this works.
I love those episodes. Well, my best is that for the last 18 months of my life, I have listened to more Wiggles than anyone should ever listen to, right? Yeah. And no hate to the Wiggles. I like them, but it does something to you psychologically when you have listened to Hot Potato.
And you begin to obsess about them. I began to obsess about them and like start obsessing about their private lives.
I follow them all on Instagram.
Adult stories to yourself.
I see them on TikTok and I'm like, hi. How are you, Sahai?
You live in my house.
Yeah, you live in my house. Exactly. And over the weekend, I was going to visit my pop, and where he is at the moment is 50 minutes away, right? A long car trip. And I try to play my podcast. I try to play my music. It's just a firm no on that. It's always
from the back seat.
From the back seat, firm no, Viggles. Anyway,
Figgles.
We have changed, and now we have a new request. And you know what the new request is? Taya.
Oh.
We have become obsessed with Taylor Swift. Thanks to
Nana.
It's our auntie who is the craziest Swiftie you've ever met.
That's true.
She loves Taylor Swift. And I think that maybe Luna seems to know a lot about the album and the Eras tour, which is weird because she's not allowed screen time. But when I did catch her watching the Eras tour, she could do a choreographed routine.
What's her favourite Taylor song?
Well, she started requesting one. There's one called The One. I didn't even know there was one called The One. So I was like, hey Siri, play The One, and
this is great.
And she loves it. And then
she also likes I Can Do It With a Broken Heart.
She does. She started twerking. And then the other day,
total indoctrination. I love it.
We've been trying to teach her to say love, so I go, I love you, I love that. Like we're trying to get her to say it, and she's going love, and then she goes I love, and there was this pregnant pause, and she goes Taya, dance, and she starts doing a little twerk. I was like, so the best was that for 50 minutes, I got to listen to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
50 minutes I listened back and I was like, I can lyrically, musically.
Oh, she's an incredible songwriter.
I'm here for that. This is
Taylor.
more fulfilling for mummy than Hot Potato.
Better bridges.
Yes.
This is the plan from Auntie, is she indoctrinates you via your daughter.
Exactly. And I'll be going to the next tour.
Love. That is all we've got time for today, Out Louders. A massive thank you to you for being with us all week, of course. We're going to be back in your ears next week. Jessie and Mia, read us out.
A big thank you to our team group executive producer, Ruth Devine, executive producer, Emeline Gazilas.
She has a recommendation, Em. She told me she wanted to pass on to the Out Louders.
Oh, what is
She's been getting really into the fancy flavoured tuna, and she's even managed to convert our big boss, Ruth, who once ranted about the stuff. Because
that's our feedback.
It can be a bit controversial having a tricky like tuna in the office, but also Ruth didn't like that there were too many tunas.
No, because you buy the wrong one. You go and you get chili oil and you're like, I didn't want that. I wanted sea salt.
But Em's like, lean in. They're having pesto tuna. It's just a big, I think it's Serena. Em's now a tuna influencer anyway.
Okay.
That's her record.
Our audio producer is Leah Porges, who's probably eating tuna too. And video producer, Josh Green.
Bye.
Bye.